Ready for a deep dive. This one takes a classic tale, but flips it on its head.
We're going to see a familiar story,
Yeah.
but from a totally new perspective.
We're diving into Moby Dick. Well, sort of. We're hearing the story from the whale himself.
Oh, this is interesting.
Right. Through this book, Moby Dick, Echo of the Boundless Depths. A whale's peaceful life interrupted by human greed.
Wow. That title alone.
Yeah, right. It really sets the stage, doesn't it? Instead of the typical adventure, a vengeful captain, we're getting a first-hand account from the creature everyone says is the monster.
I'm intrigued.
So our mission, should we choose to accept it, is to see what happens when we let Moby Dick, or Echo as he calls himself, take the stage, to reframe this whole narrative.
That shift in perspective that's immediate. Right from the name, Echo of the Boundless Depths.
He's reclaiming his own story.
Before it even begins, yeah. He's not just Moby Dick, the name that people gave him. He's Echo, connected to that vastness, the tranquility of the ocean, and that immediately challenges that human-centric view.
So we're not looking at some mindless beast here.
No.
Echo is a being with depth, with, dare I say it, self-awareness. And that really comes through in his descriptions of life before Ahab.
Yeah, it's a far cry from the image of a vengeful monster. Echo, he paints this picture of the ocean as his home, this serene, interconnected world where his size, his strengths, it wasn't about aggression.
He even talks about his sense of community. It makes you wonder, have we totally misunderstood these creatures?
It's a powerful reminder that we humans, we project our own assumptions, fears even, onto the natural world. We see a whale's size, its strength, and we jump to conclusions.
And then into this tranquil world come the humans. Echo describes ships as these strange, disruptive elements, like foreign objects invading his world, bringing chaos and fear.
He even hints that the ocean itself is changing, even before Ahab. There's this unease, like human impact is already felt, even if Echo doesn't fully grasp it yet.
Oh, foreshadowing.
Yeah, almost like...
Okay, so we've heard how Echo challenges this traditional narrative. Now let's dive into Echo's world before Ahab, when the ocean was his sanctuary. And he doesn't shy away from what happened, but you can tell his world was a very different place before the Pequod.
Yeah, and that's where we really start to see how deep Echo's character goes. Because he owns his part of the story, but he does it in a way that makes you question everything.
It's like he's inviting us to see the bigger picture.
Absolutely. He's not just telling us what happened. He's making us think about our perceptions, our biases.
And speaking of biases, let's talk about how Echo portrays Ahab. Because this isn't your typical good whale versus bad captain story.
Not at all, Echo.
Yeah.
He recognizes that Ahab is complex. He sees a man consumed by this.
Yeah.
This need for revenge, driven to dominate nature itself.
He even quotes Ahab as saying, "I am tormented with an everlasting itch for things rote."
Oh, wow.
It's chilling. You realize that to Ahab, the ocean, this vast and powerful force, is just something else to be conquered.
And that brings up such a fascinating point about human nature, doesn't it? We so often mistake understanding for control. We think that if we can conquer something, we've mastered it.
And that is where I think we see the bigger picture. Ahab's obsession. Yeah. With Moby Dick, with conquering this one whale. It's a microcosm for this much larger theme of human greed, our destructive relationship with the natural world.
It's a pattern throughout history, right?
Yeah.
This insatiable desire for control
Yeah.
that leads to destruction. And what's fascinating is Echo uses this surprisingly relatable concept to drive it home. The pale blue dot.
Okay, now it gets interesting. Echo references Carl Sagan, which I have to admit I did not see coming. It's like he's bringing in this whole other level of perspective.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Echo brings in Sagan, and suddenly we're on this cosmic level. He's asking us to consider our place in the grand scheme of things, just like Sagan did.
For those who haven't read Sagan, he talked about the pale blue dot, this tiny speck in the vastness of space that we call home. We're back, diving deeper into Moby Dick, Echo of the Boundless Depths, seeing this classic tale, but through the eyes, or maybe the blowhole, of the whale.
We left off with Echo and that pale blue dot, Earth, tiny, fragile, lost in all that space.
It's incredible. Echo, he lives in the ocean, right? But he uses this cosmic view to help us get Ahab's obsession.
Like he's saying, look, you humans are fighting over this one little planet, and you think one whale in this whole ocean means something on that scale.
Exactly. Puts things in perspective. I mean, have you thought about it like that? Because it makes Ahab's quest, I don't know, even more ironic.
Oh, totally. You have this huge obsession. But it's playing out on such a small stage. Like Sagan warned about, we have to dominate a world we don't get.
And it gets deeper. Echo takes us to that encounter with Ahab. That's where we really understand Moby Dick, the so-called monster, because Echo makes it clear he didn't start this.
He was just trying to live his life in a world humans were already messing up.
Exactly, and that's when he uses that powerful analogy. Imagine someone invades your home, your family's there, they're going to wreck it all. What would you do? He flips the script.
We're not just watching this fight anymore. We're the whale. We feel his fear, his anger. He has to protect himself.
Makes you think, would W.E. act differently?
It changes how you see that encounter, for sure.
Totally. And it helps us understand Ahab's downfall. Echo says it wasn't strength that took Ahab down. It was himself. He couldn't let go of his hate.
That's not just Moby Dick, is it? We all deal with that. Holding on to anger, wanting revenge, it just hurts us.
True, but Echo doesn't leave us in the darkness. He pleads with us. Don't think of me as a monster.
He's challenging us. Who's the real villain here? Maybe we'll see ourselves a little more clearly.
And that is the power of this whole retelling. It's not about one whale. It's about us, our biases, what we think about nature, our place in it. We're back. And honestly, I don't know about you, but this whole idea of facing our own biases, it really stuck with me.
Yeah, Echo doesn't let us off easy, does he? It was our greed, our ambition that brought Ahab right to him, that messed up his world. And we're still doing it, aren't we?
It makes you think about what we're doing to the planet. How can we share this pale blue dot when, well, we're not so good at sharing?
It's a big question.
Yeah.
And Echo doesn't have all the answers, but he's making us ask, right?
Yeah.
By sharing his story, he's saying, look, at least ask the right questions.
Instead of just man against nature, seeing how it's all connected.
Exactly. We're not conquerors. We live here, too, on this pale blue dot. What we do matters, not just for us, but for everything.
And Ahab, he shows us what happens. You try to control everything, bend the world to your will. It doesn't work.
Balance, right? We have to respect the natural world, but we're part of it, too. Not about being in charge. It's about coexisting, seeing that all life matters, not just us.
So we're coming up from the depths, and I'm kind of amazed. You know, the ocean, like Echo shows us, it's huge EE, but we have to protect it.
Maybe that is the message. With Moby Dick Echo of the Boundless Depths. It's not just a story. It's like a call to action. We can rewrite things, not just this story, but how we treat nature.
Choose understanding, not conquest. Be stewards, not masters. Echo reminds us we're not alone on this pale blue dot. There's amazing creatures out there, and they deserve our respect, our protection.
And because in the end, we're all connected. Hurt them, we hurt ourselves, help them, and we all benefit.
This deep dive, wow, a lot to think about. Sometimes the best lessons, they come from where you least expect. And maybe the monsters aren't who we thought.
It's like the world is full of echoes waiting for us to listen.
I'm going to remember that. And for everyone listening, we hope this sparked something for you, got you curious about nature and our place in it.
Until next time, keep exploring. Keep asking those questions. Listen to those echoes, they're everywhere.
And that's a wrap on another deep dive. We'll be back soon with a whole new topic to explore. See you then.